In this video lesson, I'm going to introduce you to the quadratic formula. This is a formula that we can use to solve for x when we have a quadratic equation. It simply says negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. So to use this quadratic formula, you simply plug in the correct numbers. So remember, we have ax squared plus bx plus c is the standard quadratic function. So you simply are going to plug in an a. One thing you want to consider doing, though, you always want to use parentheses. You want to put parentheses around the number that you're plugging in. All right. So this just keeps it, if you don't use the parentheses, it's possible that your multiplication can end up incorrect. So get used to using the parentheses. And again, all we're doing is plugging these in. Everywhere you see a b, you're going to plug in the coefficient with the x. Okay. Everywhere you see an a in the quadratic formula, you plug in the coefficient with the x squared. And of course, here where you see the c, that's where you plug in the c. So in this video, I'm just going to show you how to set up the quadratic formula with a couple of examples. Okay, so here we have the quadratic equation, 5x squared plus 3x plus 4 equals 0. And we are going to just set up the quadratic formula with this using this equation. So again, remember our ax squared plus bx plus c, and what represents what, okay? So I'm going to actually just rewrite this to show you what I mean by being sure that you set it up correctly. So x equals, and then this negative is part of the formula. So negative and then the b, I'm going to put parentheses, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times a. So now we just plug in what belongs. So again, in the formula where we have a b, we're going to look for the b, and the b in this example is a 3. So we're simply going to plug in the 3. So we put a 3 here, and we put a 3 here, okay? And then everywhere in the formula where we see an a, we're going to plug in this example, a is 5. So we're going to plug in 5. So 5 goes here, and 5 goes here. And then, of course, everywhere we see a c, we're plugging in a 4. So we would plug in 4 here. It's only right there. That's where we see 4, okay? So that's what it looks like to set up the quadratic formula. I'm going to do one more example. The difference in this one is that the b is actually a negative, okay? So remember, you certainly have to understand the ax squared plus bx plus c. This is our standard quadratic function, okay? So here we have a quadratic function. It probably should be an equation. We could just set it equal to 0, okay? But to solve it, to solve for x, we're going to set up the quadratic formula. Again, in this video, we're just setting it up, okay? So here we have x equals, and I'm going to rewrite it because I don't want to get you used to using parentheses. So negative and the b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times a. All right. Now, in this one, if we're going to plug in the b's, we come up here, and b is actually a negative 5. So we need to be sure we go ahead and write in negative 5 everywhere the b is supposed to be, okay? And then everywhere we want to write an a, we're filling in the a with a 2, okay? So I'm simply going to plug in the 2 and here and here. And then finally, the c is negative 15. So I'm going to be sure to plug in negative 15. All right. Also, just to let you know that this part here, if I were to highlight it, let's see. I want to make sure that you are aware that this part here is actually called the discriminant. So the square root of b squared minus 4ac, okay, this part is actually called the discriminant. So if you were asked to just find the value of the discriminant, you would just plug in inside the square root b squared minus 4ac and then work that out. And that would find the value of the discriminant. Okay, so this is the video that introduces the quadratic formula. In the rest of the assignment that you'll be doing, you're going to use the videos from the actual Delta Math because they do a really good job of showing how to plug in the numbers and work out the math and using the calculator as well.